I'm rolling. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. Ooh, Fairby.
Okay, that's. I want you to talk about that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, that's our
Okay.
old famous fishing spot.
Okay.
Sockeye
Take that
Creek.
one. And
That
we'll
one.
walk that one down.
We'll take this Gulka down. Wish I could walk down like that. When he saw that piece,
Oh, yeah. Oh.
that was my first one-man show was in the Emily Carr building in Victoria. And this print was hanging on the wall. And we were walking around, Mr. West and I, and he was standing right beside me. I was here and he was on this side right next to me, and he just gives me a little nudge with his elbow. And he's looking at this piece and he says, whatever possessed you to put that boat right in front of everything? It's a stroke of genius. And I got embarrassed and I said, Mr. West, I was a little boy and all my uncles and aunts were digging clams, and it was pouring rain, and it was my responsibility to look after the boat. So I had to stand beside the boat and watch the boat. And I was too small really to go digging clams. So that's just a memory of what I was doing. Crazy, eh?
No, that makes me look at that thing totally differently.
Yeah. He says, stroke of genius. No.
Okay, so let's wire you up if we're gonna.
Wire me up.
Yeah. Let's get the.
Roll, and you go whenever you want to.
Sure.
Whatever we're doing is good.
Well, I want to take you over and show you one of my daughter Grace's favorite pieces, because she loves horses. And it's called Caribou Cowboy. And this is it's a beautiful story about two friends of mine who are gone to the other side now. And John lived in Kersley, near Kersley in south of Quesnel. And Larry Gerardo was my closest friend in life. He was 2 years older than me, and he was in the Saanich Fire Department, and we became friends then and stayed friends through it all. So he watched my growth. And he and I stopped at John's every year a couple of times, and I always went over to this little 8x10 photograph that he had on the wall, and I just stand and look at this piece and say, wow, that's just so Caribou. And who took this picture? I really would like to create a piece of artwork inspired by this piece. And he said, oh, the photographer's gone now, but I'm pretty sure you could just go ahead and do it. So I took a picture of his picture and I brought it home and I went to work and Caribou Cowboy was done. And Grace loves horses. She's an expert horse person herself. So and she watched that come together.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a fairly older.
This is, I can't see the year, 2010.
Right.
So
not
she
normal.
was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, part of her young age.
What would be the oldest print that you have in here? Because you showed me that black, the early one. Where the heck is that? Is it? The
Eagle's
first one.
Moon,
Yeah.
or the Canoe series. Yeah, where was it? Cassandra. Oh, that's fitting. Oh no, we talked about Digging Clams, that's the oldest one here.
Yeah.
But the next series, after Digging Clams, I came back to Hazelton. And here was a development like I'm now branching out and getting ideas. I can do this, I can do that. I can do anything I really want to do. If I can see it in my mind, I can do it. And as I was doing that, Henry said, well, you should go back to Hazelton, go back to Kassan and take some pictures and see what inspires you. Well, I came back here, I went to Kassan, and I looked at that piece. It was in February, it was free, 25 below here. And I snapped a picture of that and I created that piece and got to tell the story about me going to school there. And that's the way carvings were done pre-contact. Not the one in the foreground, but the one in the background, because our ancestors had nothing but jade blades to carve with. So you didn't have totems like this until contact, when tool steel came.
Right.
And that's when the whole totem culture exploded.
Right.
So it's kind of like me exploding into this whole new, moving away from the traditional totems like this
Right.
piece.
And what year is this one?
This is 1987.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, and these pieces, okay, so now we go back even earlier. Those are original paintings
Yeah, that one.
on bentwood. Well, that's not a bentwood box because I couldn't,
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
have
just
the
a box.
knowledge so I just made this box, and then I did this painting, and it's actually 4 paintings. And then a few years, so that would be 1983 or 84. And this was, actually has a year on it. I think this is 1986, the year I built my gallery. And this is an actual bentwood box. So it's, and these have just been, I mean, that's our clothes container.
Right.
I mean, we use these just like our ancestors did. This is where we store things.
So Becca, do you think I should carry a light with me while I'm doing this?
No,
Because I'm worried about it not being bright enough.
I'm adjusting as I go.
You can see it. In the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's, oh, and I wanted to give you this stamp. Oh, Voices from the Sky.
Yeah, you were just talking about that yesterday.
And it was things like this where I'm talking with Lucky Bud and he's going, Roy, we've got to do the book Voices from the Skeena. And so we did it. And that's the first book of ancient stories illustrated by a modern artist. I forget how Lucky describes it. Yeah, these images, you can't find any of these, are only done for the book.
Right.
Yeah, that's never been anything but there. Lucky says, well, these are original pieces in books. Aren't you going to do prints of them? Well, I've done a few of that mountain already.
But you could study how you do rain. Right?
Yeah.
There's a,
Hiroshige,
yeah.
he was my, well, I'm wearing this to pay homage to Hokusai Hiroshige. And besides, it's comfortable. But yeah, that mountain, Stigioden, they call it, Rocher de Bull, the cartographers put that French name on it.
Right.
But it means the same thing, Rocher de Bull, rolling rock. And the ancient story of Stigioden is of the one-horned goat that was saved by the Gittinmax people, a little boy. Other boys were torturing this baby goat and burning it with sticks, and he got red ochre salve and put it on the burns and took the little goat back to the mountain and found the old goats got it. And then they got mad at the people from Gittinmax, and they Temlacham was the name. Temlacham was the name of the village at that time, and they caused a landslide, and rolling rocks came down and destroyed the village. Incredible. But before that happened, they went to the little boy and told him to take his family and his relatives away from the village because they were going to destroy it.
This looks like the watercolor painter, you know, that BC artist.
I don't know. See the boat?
Yeah, no, that's another thing you do, is you put these things that you can't see in the painting unless you go close up. What's that about?
Oh, that's another old story. So, Skidegate.
Right.
Skidans. It was Skidans. And I had gone to Haida Gwaii with a friend of mine, and I was filming. And I went to Ninstintz, so I did a painting of Ninstintz. And then I went to Skidans because I know the story of the Kitcatlins and how they're connected with the people from Skidans. And when I got there, there was no totems, no nothing. And then I saw an old totem in the trees, and it was kind of falling over, and then one on the ground. And when I looked at the one on the ground, in behind there were some skulls. So it was like a mortuary totem. And I was overcome with emotions, and I walked over to this log that was sticking out on the beach, and I just sat there and cried and cried and cried. And my friend Henry Nola, who's gone now, took a picture of me on the log. So my painting of Kassan, or of Skidans, is me sitting on the log dreaming about the village that used to be, which is actually the diorama that my friend John carved for the BC Provincial Museum. It's crazy how these things connect. And so I'm sitting there thinking of the village. And when I started putting the whole idea together, I went to my printer and I said, Vincent, I want you to do this village, but I want you to make it disappear. So start with this gray and then just have clear extender and blend them together and pull. But people won't see it. I said, well, I want it to disappear like images and memories in our minds. Well, I don't understand. Why would you want me to do that?
I don't know anybody who does that.
He argued with me.
Yeah.
I said, all right, Vincent, I'm paying you to do this job, so you do it or I'll find someone else. Okay, he says. So he pulls this village and we go away and have coffee and we come back and I'm standing here and he picks the print up and he says, see that? You can't even see the end of the village.
Yeah.
And I could see the end of the village because I was standing over here. And color is about light.
Yeah.
And the light was hitting it in such a way that my angle of looking at it, I could see the end of the village. And I said, Vincent, just turn it a little bit. So he turned it and he just went.
So is there anything upstairs or on this main floor that does that too? Because you got a whole bunch of them that do that. Where the thing is kind of invisible unless you're actually looking for it.
Yeah.
That's a real, that's a trademarky Roy Henry Vickers thing.
It is. There's one right there.
There's one right here.
That's Henry Nola.
Yeah.
And that's the guy who helped me build the gallery.
Right.
He adds all the wood that's in my studio, that man adds to it all by hand. And so that piece of Skidans showed me that I could create images and put them in a serograph, and people won't be able to see them unless the light hits it properly. And I have seen thousands of people walking along going, oh, that's nice. And they go, oh, wait a sec. And then they step back, and then they step this way because it's appearing and disappearing. And then they'll come and talk to me and I'll say, well, you know how you have images in your mind? And they go away because you stop thinking about it. Oh,
Do you know what a ghost note is?
No.
A ghost note is when you play two notes and a third one rings.
Oh.
Like, you know when you're doing harmonics on a guitar, right?
Yeah.
So the person I studied my PhD with did ghost notes. So the third note rings, but you can't hear it. So a lot of people go, why would you play a note that you can't hear? Well, it's the same as you, right?
Yeah,
Why would you put things in paintings that you can't see?
because I can see them.
Yeah, yeah. You can.
And so
you
other
can see
people,
what you can't see.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're imagining, well, what is art all about? It's about vision. And the artist is recreating in real time what is in their vision.
Yeah.
So other people can't see what I see in my mind.
Yeah.
And what I see in my mind isn't always what I can create on a piece of paper because I'm limited by tools
Right.
and colors. And so I do the best I can.
Well, how does that influence how you do rain? Because there's another thing.
Oh, rain. Well,
Like
rain
this one
is...
has rain on it, and I think you've got quite a few others. That one has snow.
That was my first rain.
That was your first
That was
rain.
my first rain. And
So you stopped the rain at certain points at the bottom.
yeah,
You kept them all parallel.
yeah. Well, they're not. They're like the wind's blowing and
Okay.
they're
So they're
different.
not quite mathematically parallel.
No, they're not. And to me, it's like when you're out there, I grew up, Tsimshian
Yeah.
is what they call us, the anthropologists.
Yeah.
And Tsim means in. And this is Wap is this house. Xian is cloud waters
Right.
that we call rain. So Tsim Xian, it comes from the old word Tsim Xian. And it's people who live in the rain. So it's like sooner or later Roy's going to come to a place where he's got to do rain because he's Tsim Xian. And so
And
I do.
is that the four houses in there?
That's the four houses. And this is little Roy, young Roy, thinking he is going to be a chief one day.
Yeah.
And the supernatural chiefs, the eagle, whale, raven, and wolf, are going to paddle his canoe back to his village. And people are going to wonder how I got there with this big canoe and no pullers. And I'll say, well, our ancestors brought me here, which they did.
Right. Right.
And so that was all in this image that I was creating. So I'd never done waves in gray water like that.
Right.
And Hiroshige was one of my heroes, is one of my heroes. He taught me how to do snow and rain. And when I looked at his rain and his snow, I could see and I could feel what he saw.
Right.
And it's like he knows rain, he knew rain, and he did the rain not all parallel lines because it's never like that in nature. The wind moves the way the rain falls. And the rain falls or disappears in some places. So it's really...
Why does your great grandfather have snow?
that's not snow.
Oh, okay.
The idea was snow, so I thought, okay, I'm going to do feathers falling
Oh.
the way snow falls, because this blanket that he's wearing, this is actually from an old photograph taken from him, black and white. And
Isn't that the photograph that the
Wilson Duff
showed
Yeah.
you when you
Yeah.
were young?
yeah, I wish he was still alive.
And you could see your face, and
Yeah.
anyone can see your face in
Yeah.
his.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when the peace dance that we call, Hoilikila is the way the Tlaqua, Kwak language describes it. It's about eagle down in the dancer's headdress. And I showed you my headdress earlier, and it had some eagle down that's still stuck to the inside. Well, when you're dancing, you're always moving your head like this, and you're always shaking your rattle. And when the song begins, there's a couple of times, and you dance like this to the beat of the drum and the people. And then there's a time when they change the beat and they stop and they go, boom, 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 and you jump forward and you snap your head with the rattle still going, and the down comes out. And then you sweep to the left with your blanket open and the down, and then you snap your head again, and then you sweep all the way around to the right and you snap your head again and the down comes out. and your movement of the blanket is sending the down into the room.
Oh my God.
And the down symbolizes the time when the great flood happened and people were in their canoes and they were all praying and crying because they thought they were going to die. And this old woman from Kitkatla, this is the story told to me, she started praying and she fell asleep and she woke up from her sleep and she started hollering at all the people in the canoe, I know why this is happening. We lost our way. We've become disrespectful to our ancestors in our land, and we have to go back to the ancestors' way of looking after what was given to us. And so that story inspired the chiefs to get together and find a chief who was the greatest healing worker of all of the chiefs. Because all chiefs, we are teachers, healers, visionaries, and then warriors. So in the healing is where our leadership should be really strong. Because most people who are addicted to leadership are about power and control, not about looking after the people. That's what leadership is about. So when the down's shaken out, it reminds us that at one time we lost our way. And all of the birds that were flying in the sky with no place to land, their feathers were falling to the ocean.
Oh my God. That was just a throwaway. Is that snow? It's not snow. It's the feather. It's the down of an eagle.
Yep.
That accompanies probably the dance comes at the time when they show the need. Wow.
Powerful, powerful,
Wow.
powerful. Yeah.
You want to do this one? I don't know what you. The use of how you do color is one of the things that people talk about,
Yeah.
right? And you almost explode with color when you decide to go. Right?
It did.
And often one of the, we could talk about the blue and how you reflected the sky and the sea in the same kind of, using the kind of same forms. Mm-hmm. But what's striking about Roy Henry Vickers is this color, which is kind of an orange color. Yeah. And then, because this is to me, and I've heard you say this before, this is your color, right? This is the color that I would call it maybe associated with Tofino and the West Coast, the sunsets.
Everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up with sunsets and looking west from the village. In my village, Kitkatla, they call me Lopaskik, and Lop is rock, and Skik is eagle.
Okay.
So my name is Eagle Rock. So in our village, when you're looking west at the sunset, you're looking right over top of the actual Eagle Rock where I used to
When did you
sit.
get this name?
I don't know.
Young or old?
Old. Yeah. When I went back to the village,
Yeah.
Matthew Hill, who was the chief of the Eagles there, he said, I want to put a new name on you because you've grown up and this name
It's
is
a
about
very
who you-"
fitting name.
And they write your song. There's
Right.
a song about
Okay.
Eagle Rock that somebody in Kitkatla composed. So anyway, when you're looking west from there, that's where I saw my first sunsets.
Right.
So here's this guy, years and years and years, so like 40 years later, and he's trying to paint a sunset, and I'm colorblind. I'm partially colorblind to all colors. So the hues of color that I see are the stronger hues of red and orange and yellow. And so when I wanted to paint a sunset, I was back on my gillnetter boat called the Native Bride, and I was out on the ocean, and I had an old Pentax Spotmatic 2, and my first color photographs moving from black and white to color were of sunsets. every day on the ocean.
Yeah.
Out of the summer of '79, I painted sunsets. And so when I wanted to paint a sunset, I went and got all of those slides and put them in a tray and put a screen up, and I just sat there for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, looking at them all. And gradually, the way I was going to do these pieces came to be a vision in my mind. And I used the waves, form lines, to separate
Yeah.
red,
Right.
orange, yellow, and then light blue to darker blue. And that's how I did my first sunset, and it was called West Coast Sunset, and it was Kitkatla. I mean, when I think of it now, talking to you about it, it's like, oh, well, no wonder you did Kitkatla and the sunset like that, because that's where you saw your first sunsets. And where else would you have a canoe
Yeah,
at
yeah.
sunset? And so that's how sunsets came to be. And people looking at it went, wow, your colors are so strong. They are? Well, yeah, they're strong. They're, guy, you make me see sunsets in a different way. And oh man, people say to me now, every time I see sunsets, I see it's like you painted the sunset, and I go, all right. I'm not that painter, but it was Mr. West. When I was a young guy, when he saw the painting of the canoe with the rain,
Yeah.
he said to me, remember what I told you about art? Yeah, remember what I told you about when you find yourself? Yes, you said, maybe one day if you come to understand who you are and you create from that place, you will be doing something nobody else in the world can do, because each one of us is completely different from everybody else, even though we have the same genes. So, do you know that you're doing that now? And I just did this. I just looked at him and I started to cry. And he said, so have you heard people? I said, Mr. West, thousands of people have said, I was out the other day on the sea and I saw your water. I was out the other day in the rain and I thought of your rain. I was out the other day watching the sunset and I saw your sunset.
Well, to me, the color is when I close my eyes and look at the sunset, right? Because
Yeah.
it goes through your eyelids.
It
That's
does.
the Roy Henry Vickers color.
And it goes into your vision. Yeah.
And on this one, is this you? And this, like,
That's
why does Andrea love this one?
Because she's afraid of the sea.
Wow.
She's afraid of big waves. I'm not. I was almost born on the ocean. And so when she saw that, she saw me at the front of the boat, skippering the boat, and her at the back hollering. And me covering my ears, like, I don't want to hear it anymore. So it's kind of a
Also, that's what you're doing.
whimsical.
You're covering your ears and she's screaming.
Yeah.
And the hair is moving.
Wind's blowing, the waves are big. Yeah. And it's called Gulka. And Gulka in our Kitkatla language is what we call the west wind. And the westerly always brings the sunshine. So when the westerly wind's creating these big waves, I'm just riding them like a kid in a toboggan going down a hill.
Well, this piece. Some would argue that there's an homage to Japanese
Totally.
woodblock art.
Totally.
Right.
My hero, Hiroshige,
Yeah.
who was the other one? And why was he my hero?
Yeah.
First of all, everybody knows the Great Wave at Kanagawa by Hokusai.
Yeah.
So I studied Hokusai and Hiroshige. When I was studying prints, my favorite prints were woodblocks.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to see. And who creates the most beautiful woodblocks in the world? People from
So
Japan.
what other decisions are in this one? Because since it's in front of us.
Hokusai, the Great Wave at Kanagawa, people in nature, a scene from your life that you're living.
Yeah.
So Hokusai, the other thing he taught me was a reminder of what my grandpa always said. Roy, keep your eyes open, re-spectate,
Yeah.
look again.
Again.
And Hokusai's whole theme that's behind all of his work is the beautiful world that he lives in. And in behind every scene is the famous Mount Fuji.
Right, right.
And so for me, I became this artist who all of my creations come from the world I live in. So when I moved from very traditional work to contemporary, well, I'm contemporary. So I just started looking at things that moved me powerfully and then trying to figure out how I was going to create
So is this one in particular a sketch, or do you go right to Adobe Illustrator? How does this get?
Okay, so this one, I wasn't creating images
Right.
on a computer at this time. I was drawing them with pencil. So my printer, Vincent Ricard, who's still alive, he would cut the positives by tracing my drawings. And then I would paint the painting to show him the colors that we were going to put in. So he would cut the print from my drawings, and then he would pick the colors from the painting that he did from the drawings. So there was always the drawing and then the painting. So that happened for years and years and years and years until that I was telling you the
Yeah.
story about the painting to Queen Elizabeth, and
Yeah.
he just said, "There's no way I'm going to
Yeah.
put a knife over that painting." And so that was the time when Advantage Computers, they had seen my artwork, and their technician, who was also a sculptor. So here's this incredible technician, Paolo Bertoia, this Italian guy, young guy. And he comes to Tofino, and he is just like, "Roy, you have to learn to draw on a computer. You have to learn to draw on a computer." And I just looked at him like he was crazy. I said, "Paolo, I'm too old." Like I was 50 or something like that. And he said, "No, you're not. And there's going to come a time when you're not going to be able to draw like you draw with a pencil in your hand. And if I can teach you how to draw on a computer, you will be able to draw when you're an old man." I go, "No, I'm already an old man and I'm too old to learn computers." So he invited me to Vancouver, and I wound up in his office, and he showed me this painting of mine on his computer, but it wasn't. It was something that he created by taking a picture of my work and then creating the image on his computer, and he put the hook and set the hook, and he caught me with that one, and I learned how to draw on a computer. So this one, this whole drawing was all, every edge of a color is a black line. And so I draw the whole thing with the image of the colors that I'm going to use in my vision, and then I mix all of the colors on the computer and then drop them into the lines, and boom, there it is. So the original painting to this piece is an electronic image on my Macintosh computer. However, this friend of mine had this printer, and he said, "I can cut exactly what you draw. I can cut it exactly the way you drew it." I went, "Okay, well, show me, Phil." So he did a cut of one of my prints, and I went, "Holy crap, we can do this." He said, "Yeah, I can cut the amberlith, and your printer can take the amberlith, and you put all the registration marks in your drawing, and we'll create your printer can..."
This is 1993,
92.
92.
Yeah, 92 was when I began.
Did this strategy transfer to carving at all?
No.
Right, because carving is three-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's the same that when you were a young man here in Kassan Village.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed in that way.
No. Every time I pick up a knife, I'm the old guy from centuries ago.
Can
drawing.
you give us just one difference, like one of the things that happened back in the day when computers were used in art making? people criticized it and they said that, you know, that's not a human thing. People don't do that anymore, but did you also face that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But to me, they were ignorant comments, and I'm not ignorant. I know what I'm doing, and I know how it's done, and I know what fine art is, and I know what copy is.
Yeah.
I know what a lithograph is compared to a serigraph.
Right.
So lithographs are four-color process that can only be printed on a computer. A serigraph can only be printed by hand. So it never was a problem, and eventually people came to learn it themselves and understand. And now there's all kinds of artists creating
Yeah.
fine art with computers.
Can you, because we're standing next to this eagle, can you talk about that?
Well,
Is that yours?
this is mine. I did 4 of these, and this is 200 man hours, and it was done in 10 days. So 10 hours a day, 2 guys. So I did 100 hours, and my buddy working with me did the 100 hours with me, and when it was finished, we carved the beak, and then he did the mortise and tenon to join the beak to the back of the pole. So it's one of my favorite pieces, and this piece is old. This
wood is old
is
or the piece is old?
1980s.
Okay, 1980s.
And there were 4. We did 4 of these identical. This is crazy. And I can take you out to the carving shed and show you the logs. These are house posts. And we adds these big long beams, and then we split the beams in half and carved the inside of the beams out, and then we glued them back together, and we made caps to put on the ends, and they look like logs. And 2 guys can pick them up and put them up on top of these. And so this was, the 4 eagles were my gallery set up in Las Vegas. There's this big art show down there, and I had a trailer, and I took all the 4 poles and set up this model building. I had this track lighting that's up in here, and I had 4 tracks in this building. Add cedar walls, just like my gallery, and set the whole thing up in a day, and then hung all the prints and lit them all. And people just walked into this gallery in the middle of this Las Vegas show going, what the heck? How could this possibly be here? It was amazing. So much fun. So these eagles have been they're part of many, many stories from people from Las Vegas to Vancouver. Different shows that I've done, we always set this.
They're pretty much like half your age, right?
Yeah, I'm 80, so 40 years ago. Yeah, 50, I'm 79, 74, 54 years. When I came out of Kasan, it was 54 years ago.
Let's take a break.